Happy Andrew Painter Day, everybody, to all those who celebrate. The 6'7" Phillies firearm 19-year-old prospect will make his spring training debut today and really start to try to crack into the Phillies starting rotation. We'll get into that conversation today. Also, Howie, Roseman, Nick Sirianni, they both addressed the media yesterday at the NFL Combine as things kick off there. And this is how the day started. According to NFL reporter and Seattle Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll, the Eagles have hired Sean Desai as their defensive coordinator, taking over for Jonathan Gannon. Eagles making it official by first off talking about it yesterday and then making the announcement via social media. As everything is announced nowadays, Sean Desai is their new defensive coordinator. There is one former Eagle we'll get into in a second that just gave him a rave endorsement, a rave review as to why this was the Eagles' perfect candidate and the Eagles' perfect person to hire to bolster their defense. And even an upgrade over Jonathan Gannon. How about that? Huh? I know a lot of people want to hear that, and they'll hear that a little bit later in the show. But like I said, Howie Roseman will talk about all the contracts he's got to sign people to, all the people he's got to re-sign. Nick Sirianni will talk about the new coordinators that he has and why Brian Johnson is the perfect fit on the offensive side of the ball to get elevated from quarterback's coach now to offensive coordinator. And remember, as Nick Sirianni said 2 weeks ago, whoever the offensive coordinator is, they're also going to be the play caller, similar to Shane Steichen, while he was your offensive coordinator in Philly before becoming the head coach in Indianapolis. So we'll get into all that and more on today's program. Let me just start it off with this because this is such a random thing, and I normally save something like this for the morning rush, but I you know what, folks? I just can't help myself. Did you see this story that Shefty put out there yesterday? Now, Shefty didn't write the story. This is a story on ESPN.com. Former NFL groundskeeper George Toem said the Super Bowl field was overwatered. Let me translate that to Philadelphia speak. It was overwatered, and the Eagles couldn't gain their footing throughout the entire game. And don't tell me it affected the Kansas City Chiefs less or more than it affected them the same. Both of them play on the same field. Yes, obvious statement. But when you do one thing particularly well, which is get home with your edge rushers, that's going to tend to affect your defense more than anything and more than anyone on the field. And it affected the Eagles more than it affected the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, as I grow away and move on from the Super Bowl, I tend to become more and more bitter about what could have been. I thought it'd actually feel good and optimistic and positive about things. No, I'm just growing more and more bitter about it. So anyway, that guy's like 90-something years old. And the funny thing about it, like, just picture this guy. I feel like we all have this guy in our family, okay? He was hilarious in this article. Yeah, I'm 92 years old. I don't got to listen to the NFL anymore. I'm retired. This guy that was taking care of the field for the Super Bowl, he watered it before the game and then rolled it right in. Because if you don't know, over there at now State Farm Stadium in Arizona, they have the field out there under the sun. They water it, and then they roll it in. So instead of watering it and letting it sit out in the sun to dry, they watered it and then rolled it into the stadium, covered it with tarp to protect it from all the rehearsals and whatnots there at the stadium, and then they just let it sit there. So that also gained a little bit of a smell. And I don't know if you guys ever walked around an NFL football field. Sometimes they're a little stanky. Natural grass can be a little stanky. It can smell like poo. FedEx Field, probably the best example of that, smells like poo. And anyway, he was talking about how the field was overwatered. It was like mildewy, and it had that pooey type of smell to it. And then the Eagles had to go try to win a Super Bowl on that with Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat coming off the edge when they're unable to get that pass rush angle. But, you know, they both played on the same field. I think we all have that guy in our family, that uncle that doesn't really give a damn anymore. And he's out there saying, I'm retired. Those guys can't put their hands on me anymore. They can't tell me what to do. The field was crap, I'm telling you. Crap. Thank you, George Toad, my new hero. My new hero. Anyway, let's get back to the upcoming Eagles and Sean Desai. What does he bring to the table? I'm not sure. I was thinking about this and leading up to the hiring, because I think most people saw it coming when we saw the news that he was going to be have a second interview, and then apparently he was on the plane from Philly to Indy. So that's convenient. Why are you doing that unless you're the guy's working for you? So What does he bring to the table? Well, here's what we already know. Long coaching history at just 39 years old, starting at Temple University. Not a bad thing there. Starting at Temple University, where he was a defensive and special teams coach. Then he goes on to Miami of Florida, assistant director of football operations. He goes to Boston College, running backs coach. He's on the offensive side of the ball. Special teams coordinator. Then he goes to the Bears for 4 years as their quality control coach for better part of 4 seasons, 5 seasons almost. Then he's the safeties coach with the Bears under Vic Fangio. Also defensive coordinator in 2021. Goes to Seattle. Now, here's the weird thing. About that 1 year, before he goes to Seattle, he is a defensive coordinator with Chicago for 1 season. Now, here's the funny thing, if you will, about that 1 season. That 1 season, he was with the Bears as the defensive coordinator. The Bears finished 6th in yards. Okay? 6th in yards. 22nd in points. That's the opposite of bend but don't break. That's break but don't bend. So you're good at not allowing the team to move the ball down the field, but terrible at stopping them from scoring. Okay, that's not great. Now, look, he didn't have great players on that Chicago Bears defense. It was 1 year as a DC, and then they moved on. He moved on. One thing I do like about this is that he has survived different coaching hires. There's something about this guy where they looked at him and they said, yeah, we like what this guy's bringing to the table. Whether it was Vic Fangio running things, whether it was Vic Fangio running things, or it was Matt Nagy running things. Jeez, blanked on the name for a second. He survived. He stayed on the coaching staff through stuff like that. So that is an interesting thing there. Different coaches at Temple as well. He started under the Al Golden era at Temple. So some good things there. Moves on to Seattle where he gets the assistant head coach title. Associate head coach and defensive assistant. So kind of a general role under Pete Carroll there. And now he's with the Philadelphia Eagles as your defensive coordinator. Now, because he's in this position, Jimmy Kempski actually pointed this out on Philly Voice. I thought this was interesting. It's something that Jimmy points out is worth noting, and it is worth noting, that Desai is of Indian descent. He is first generation born in America, second generation overall. His parents came over. And he's an Indian American. And Brian Johnson is African American, of course. So these are 2 minority head coaches by NFL standards. They're 2 minority head coaches. If the Eagles basically groom them into getting a head coaching position, just like their 2 previous coordinators, both in Shane Steichen and in Jonathan Gannon. If they say the Eagles, let's say, go to another Super Bowl next year and they win that Super Bowl, or they just have another great season and people start looking at Sean Desai and be like, oh, maybe he could be a head coach. Let me interview him. Oh, he's hired. People start looking at Brian Johnson. Oh, he's a great offensive coordinator. I want him as my head coach. And they hire him. If they leave to become head coaches elsewhere as part of an endorsement and as part of an incentive for coaches around the league and teams around the league to hire minorities, they will give the Eagles essentially compensatory draft picks, 3rd-round picks, essentially, if both Johnson and Desai get hired as head coaches as early as next year. If the Eagles hire coordinators that then get hired as head coach that are minorities, the Eagles get a draft pick for Sean Desai, and they'll get a draft pick for Brian Johnson. Worth noting. But Howie Roseman wouldn't really talk much about it yesterday as far as coaching went. He said he'll leave that to his head coach about that. So we'll see. We'll hear from Nick Sirianni on it. But there's one guy that was just raving about this hire for the Eagles. And there's one thing in particular that he says here that I find very interesting because I know it'll jump out at a lot of people for what happened at the Super Bowl. It's the second half adjustments. Here is former Eagles linebacker Emmanuel Acho talking about this hire and how it's the perfect fit for Philly.
Eagles got the defensive coordinator that they needed in Sean Desai. Who is Sean Desai? I called my brother. My brother played for the Chicago Bears when Desai was a safeties coach. He said that Desai was a guy at halftime who was educating the players on the adjustments they needed to make. Who's Sean Desai? Remember, Desai was trained under Vic Fangio. Desai was a quality control coach for the Bears for 5 years. Remember, that part of the time Vic Fangio was there. Vic Fangio, one of the modern thought leaders of the modern 3-4 defense. Desai, beloved by the Seahawks. Pete Carroll was singing his praises at the NFL Combine. Desai went to Temple, so you know he got them Philly roots, but got his master's degree at Columbia. A phenomenal teacher of the game of football. It's not just about what you know, it's about what you can get your athletes to know. The Eagles are in great hands. I actually think this is an improvement from who they lost. So Sean Desai, 39 years young, Philly roots, brilliant teacher, and also trained under Vic Fangio, one of the best defensive minds in football right now. Fly, Eagles, fly. They got this one perfectly right.
All right, no, that's excitement. That's all great. The Vic Fangio thing. Okay, for those that don't know, it's Vic Fangio. All right. I got a lot of respect for Vic Fangio. Apparently the Eagles do too. Jonathan Gannon, Vic Fangio disciple, more or less, at least in the scheme, philosophy, whatever you want to call it. When you tell Eagles fans, though, Vic Fangio, I know a lot of people would have just liked to have had Vic Fangio as their defensive coordinator. He consulted the Eagles for the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, and obviously that didn't work out too well. Not a lot of people in this city with the way Jonathan Gannon ran the Vic Fangio defense really liked the way Jonathan Gannon ran the Vic Fangio defense. So when you throw that name out there, excuse me while I don't get overly excited. But the thing that jumps out is the comment he made about the second half adjustments. He was the guy, according to his brother Sam Acho, who played for the Chicago Bears and played under Sean Desai. He goes out there and he says this is the guy that will make those halftime adjustments. He's the guy that will be talking to the players. For a lot of the people that don't know, it's not like high school. It's not like the movies you've seen where the players are in the locker room and they're all distraught, right? And then the coach comes in and he says, "What are we doing? This is what we got to do," and draws the X's and O's and motivates the team. And then they go, "Rah!" And they go out there and they play. That doesn't happen. All right. Usually you break off into your position groups. I know you guys heard Peyton Manning talk about the orange slices and maybe a quick conversation and use the bathroom. And then you go back out there. You have 13 minutes, essentially. Not even like 10 minutes, considering walking and the getting ready and all that stuff. So you don't have a lot of time. All right. It's not these epic speeches that we hear or these epic adjustments. But when you break off into your position groups, a lot of times your coach will come out there and just say, "Hey, look, this is what you got to do here. This is what's happening. We got to do that." And that's like a 30-second conversation. You don't have a lot of time. But if Sean Desai is the guy that knows how to communicate what needs to happen and can do that in a very timely fashion, as you just heard there from Emmanuel Acho, all right, then maybe the Eagles could have used him in the second half, or excuse me, at halftime of this past Super Bowl. Maybe they would have made some adjustments, huh? Or maybe they would have made adjustments on the sideline. Maybe Sean Desai would be out there drying the field. Maybe that would have been something. I don't know. But when I say I don't know, in terms of what he's going to bring to the table, I would love to sit here and tell you that this is a guy that's going, oh, you know what, he's going to run a very similar scheme, very similar philosophy to Vic Fangio, very similar philosophy to Jonathan Gannon. But he's going to be more aggressive. I'd love to tell you that. I can't tell you that. I know when you talk about Seattle Seahawks defense, as they have become known over the years, and we're still a far cry here. We're now a far cry here from the Legion of Boom. I'd love to tell you he's going to be so much more aggressive. Oh, I'd love to see you tell you he's going to play all this press coverage. I'd love to tell you all that. And I hope that's what he is. But if what's being praised about him is the mindset, if what's being praised about him is the ability to communicate and the ability to teach, well, then I hope he takes what you saw last year and 70 sacks in the regular season, and you see a very similar pass rush with Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat, and hopefully Brandon Graham's back, and hopefully Javon Hargrave's back in the middle of that defensive line. And then Jordan Davis is taking steps forward in his career and all that, and whoever else you add in the offseason. And then I hope he takes that and says, all right, here was something that was great. Here's how I'll make it better. Or here's something that was great. I'm going to make sure it is also great at the biggest moments, whether that be the playoffs, whether that be in the fourth quarter and you need to stop. All that we do know is that the Eagles made this hire Nick Sirianni made this hire simply because, and Howie Roseman too, because they are confident in the scheme and philosophy that is similar to what Jonathan Gannon brought to the football field. And that is not something I'm telling you to make you excited. That's something I'm telling you because it's real. Whatever Gannon was doing, that's what the Eagles want to do. Some version of that. And Nick Sirianni did talk about it yesterday with both coordinators. He did talk about Sean Desai and what he brings to the table here. I'll let you hear that in just 1 second. But just to get this point out, we're not going to see that much change. I hope that a new defensive coordinator will come in here and his fingerprints on this scheme, system, and personnel will be something that takes a step forward. You heard there from Emmanuel Acho talking about how this is actually a defensive upgrade. A defensive upgrade to me means you're not getting beat deep. It means you're still going to be a top 10, top 5 defense in the NFL when it comes to either points allowed or especially it comes to yards allowed per game. You're still a top defense when it comes to sacks in the season, and you're still a top defense when it comes to turnovers, even though the turnover differential kind of hit a bit of a snag in the last few weeks of the season. But it means all those things are still going to be there, but they're going to be better. If this is going to be an upgrade, then let it be an upgrade schematically. Let's see what happens with a new defensive coordinator and a defense that might not be as good as it was last year personnel-wise. So really, it's going to come down to what a new defensive coordinator can bring to the table and how good he can make this defense. Whether or not he can really take this defense that was pretty damn solid last year and push him over the hump. Here we are yesterday. This is Nick Sirianni talking about his new coordinators, both in Sean Desai and Brian Johnson.
Yeah, I think his overall knowledge of football, his football IQ is extremely high, great detail. Just a really sharp coach, and excited that he's on our staff.
Brian Johnson, you guys also made it official now. You have Brian Johnson. What made you feel comfortable to elevate him from quarterbacks coach to offensive coordinator?
Shoot, with Brian, I'm in there with him every single day, and seeing him work every single day, right? Seeing him with the quarterback. With the quarterbacks, seeing him in game planning meetings, seeing him on the practice field, and so. I thought that was the natural progression for us to go that route. And, his relationship with Jalen and just Brian's a sharp dude. He is really I lean on him for so many different things. And now he's in charge of running the offense.
There we go. You have a new offensive coordinator, Brian Johnson. It's funny to me that they don't get too much into changes they're going to make, and obviously that's gamesmanship. They're not going to get into schematics or anything like that. They're not going to get into the particulars there. I think all anybody wants in Philadelphia is an aggressive defense. That's not what Jonathan Gannon provided. You look at 70 sacks and you think, oh, wow, that's incredible. But that was your defensive line winning battles. But that's a very good defensive line. I don't know if the Eagles' defensive line, I would go ahead and assume the Eagles' defensive line is not going to be as stacked as it was this past season as it will be this upcoming season. I don't think that's going to happen. But one thing that I do give credit to for Jonathan Gannon, even last year, when you did not have necessarily Pro Bowl-esque corners like you had in James Bradbury, and you might not have this upcoming season. We haven't even talked about the cornerback position yet. You also talk about a guy like Darius Slay. One thing I give credit to Jonathan Gannon for is that he realized the talent that he had. He realized what was around him. And he thought, I can't get beat deep. This is going back 2 years. Now, this last season, when you had Howie Roseman go out there and just spend money, bring guys in, you had the flexibility to do that. You really helped out Jonathan Gannon's scheme or philosophy by not allowing the big play, but still getting a pass rush by guys winning their battles up front, whether that was rushing 4 or 5. You could win battles like that by attacking the line of scrimmage with your defensive line. You didn't have to worry about dialing up blitzes with your linebacker. You didn't have to worry about dialing up too many blitzes, even with a safety like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson coming up the middle. You didn't have to worry about him coming off the edge. It wasn't a thing that was that often where it was, oh, well, watch it. You got to bring your safety in. You're going to get beat deep. That wasn't a problem. So whatever the next step is now with the Philadelphia Eagles, whatever the direction Sean Desai decides to take with this Eagles defense, I think most people are just asking one thing. Be aggressive, make the play. because the taste we still have in our mouths, unfortunately, isn't, wow, the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl. The Eagles won the NFC Championship. Wow, the Eagles had a 70-sack season. Wow, the Eagles had a number one defense in terms of yards. They had number one defense in terms of points. Number one defense in terms of yards allowed. Number one defense for a lot of different statistical categories this year. That's all great. But the taste we have is still the last 2 quarters of football that we watched where they just got torched by Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs offense. Now, that's a pretty damn good offense. Like, people talk about Tom Brady putting up all sorts of numbers on Jim Schwartz. Okay, greatest quarterback ever had his way with their defense. It's not that big of an L. As a matter of fact, it wasn't an L at all. You won the game. But when you talk about this with this Eagles defense, the thing that's the lasting flavor in our mouths is the fact that they lost. The fact that they played those 2 quarters of football the worst they could have possibly played. Calls for the refs or not, it was awful. It was ugly. Field or not, it was awful. It was ugly. The thing we were waiting for was that Brandon Graham strip sack moment that we had in Super Bowl 52, that we got to enjoy in Super Bowl 52. There was no such play in this past game, in this past Super Bowl. That's what we're looking for now. And if Sean Desai has a way to draw up that play, if he has a way to dial up a safety blitz when nobody's really thinking about it, if he has a way for guys to get home when they're not getting home with a 4 or 5 man rush, well, that's what I'd love to see. And if second half adjustments are going to be the big thing, well, according to Emmanuel Acho, this is the guy that can dial that up and make sure it happens. So I got my fingers crossed this is the right guy. This is the right guy. Howie Roseman has a very interesting couple of months ahead of him here. First, he got the combine. Well, first, he got to address the media. Then he got the combine and all that stuff. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. How dare I? So I'm just going to play this real quick just to show Nick Sirianni one more time.
Yeah, I mean.
All right. No, I still have this cut to play. Excuse me. We're going to get to that fellow, Howie Roseman, in a second. Nick Sirianni, while addressing the media yesterday, you saw what he was wearing. I'll get to that. But first, any differences with Brian Johnson as your offensive coordinator? Are they going to make any changes in this offense? Here is Nick Sirianni on that.
Yeah, I mean, what you're going to see with our offense is you're not going to see a lot of change. We're going to, because, you know, myself, Shane, right? I mean, Brian, like we do it all together, right? And obviously Shane will be gone. There'll be little differences and little different ways that the game's called, but the way the offense is run with everything is going to be exactly the same. The way our guys run routes are going to be the same. The way we block inside zone is going to be the same, you know, for different looks that we get. The way we do our snap count, like, you're not starting, you're really not, you're just continuing to build, right? There is no Shane leaves, you do this, and then you do this again. You just keep doing this because at the end of the day, like, I was hired as an offensive coach to bring the offense that I have run in and that, you know, and my expertise in that. So I'll continue to do that. It's just going to be a different guy calling the plays, but, you know, it's still business as usual, and we'll miss Shane. Shane's an awesome coach, as we just talked about.
You don't have to go through an adjustment. When you bring in somebody, when you keep somebody, and you elevate somebody, you hire from within, there's no huge adjustment that has to be made. Now, in Sean Desai, you understand that there's going to be some kind of change here, but the overall system and scheme and philosophy is going to remain the same. That new personality in there, I'm interested to see how it meshes. I'm sure they wouldn't have made the decision, interviewing twice, essentially. I'm sure they wouldn't have made this decision if the guy wasn't going to mesh well with everybody else. So we'll get to that. But look what, you see what Nick Sirianni was wearing there? Wearing the Phillies hoodie. For the people on the podcast, Nick Sirianni is wearing a Phillies hoodie. I just love the idea that Nick Sirianni, while packing his bag for Indianapolis, had to think to himself, okay, all right, toothbrush. All right, got my razor. Got my whole Dob kit. Got a couple pairs of jeans, a couple of golf shirts. Oh, don't forget my pandering pack. Throws in the Phillies hoodie because it's spring training. I love that crossed his mind. Love that it crossed his mind. Howie Roseman did have on a Villanova t-shirt under his long sleeve hoodie, I believe he was wearing yesterday. But not quite. He was hiding it. But when it comes to Nick Sirianni and what he was wearing yesterday, I'm all for the pandering. I love to be pandered to. Pander, please. Speaking of Howie Roseman. Oh, and as far as the defense, as far as the offense goes and everything being on the same page, you're not going to have to get used to a lot of different things. It's going to be a lot of the same, so that's good to hear. Speaking of a lot of the same, your quarterback, you have one. That's cool. Jalen Hurts going to get a big contract, probably an average annual salary of, I'm going to estimate $47 to $53 million average annual salary. That's a nice day at the office. Go in to sign that contract? Yes, please, and thank you. Howie Roseman was asked yesterday about the cap flexibility he had last year versus the cap flexibility he's about to have. Here is Howie Roseman on that.
You want me to get sentimental about how it was before we pay our quarterback? Yeah, I think, it's the nature of the business. I think the better thing is when you have a quarterback that's good enough that you want to pay him and that he's got a chance to be a great player, show him what kind of player he's going to be. And if you don't have a quarterback, you're searching for one. And you can't win in this league without a great quarterback who plays at a high level. We saw how Jalen played in the Super Bowl on the biggest stage. And that's exciting for our team, for our fans, for all of us.
Very, 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 very excited. Amped, as a matter of fact, when it comes to Jalen Hurts. But that was a nice luxury of not having to pay a lot of money to your quarterback, so you can go out there and actually load up a wee bit. The Rams did it. They didn't win a Super Bowl. They made it to a Super Bowl, but they did it prior to having to sign Jared Goff. The Eagles at least won a Super Bowl, but that was also before they had to pay Carson Wentz, and we all know how that story ended. By the way, more on Wentz later in the show. But it's an interesting thing the Eagles have right now because the money, it's only going to kick in about $4 million next year for the 2023 season, and then the big contract kicks in after that. So you could still get away more or less with a nice little year here with Jalen Hurts. But the big money down the line is going to be what really affects the Eagles. You also are going to have to sign Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to a nice contract. Brandon Graham's probably going to get a nice another year bonus, more or less, similar to what you had in the Fletcher Cox situation. I do not believe Fletcher Cox is going to be back. I think the Eagles are going to be saving some money on the Miles Sanders situation by going with Kenny Gainwell next year, and that's been my hypothesis for a while. I've talked about it with Derek Gond, who flat out said it yesterday as well, talking about how the Miles Sanders won't be back. Basically, Kenny Gainwell is going to be leading the charge from your backfield, so we can get used to saying that. But a lot of different things are going to go into this year and what I think will also make this team and help this team be successful. But a lot of it's going to come down to money in 2 years. A lot of it's going to come down to money even this year. But what the Eagles are going to be spending this year on the quarterback isn't going to be blown out of the water compared to what we're going to be looking at next year. And I think that's a point that people need to be reminded of. The panic doesn't necessarily have to set in right now. The panic can set in later, especially when you're talking about a long-term deal with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, especially when you're talking about the idea or possibility of a long-term deal with James Bradberry, and when some people might be thinking about the possibility of a long-term deal for Miles Sanders. I don't think that's the direction that Howie Roseman goes. I don't think they're really looking to spend money there. And as much as we don't like looking at what the Cowboys are doing, I think Ezekiel Elliott is the perfect example of why NFL teams don't want to sign running backs to long-term deals or big contracts. You got to be a super special kind of player to warrant a contract as a running back. Ezekiel Elliott got the big money. Next thing you know, Tony Pollard's the Pro Bowler. Funny how things work out like that. So that's where we're at right now with the Eagles. As far as that contract with Jalen Hurts, Howie Roseman did talk about, didn't really get into detail about it, but Howie Roseman did at least talk about it yesterday, and here it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel comfortable talking about contract situations with anyone, Elliot. I think you know that. At the same time, tremendous respect for him as a player, as a person, tremendous respect for the people that work with him to do this. And you go through it in a way that you want to find a win-win solution. You want to find something that he feels really good about, and at the same time that we feel good about, and because surround him with good players. And he knows that. I mean, he's a smart guy. He understands that. And that doesn't mean that it's not going to be a tremendous contract for him, because he deserves that too.
Here we go. We all parties respect one another. I am very much eager for that contract to come out. I'm very much eager to see what goes down with Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman. It's going to be a good time. I've never been excited to watch, negotiations, but I think the Eagles, I think Howie Roseman realized that a huge bet that he made paid off. I'm going to go ahead and take this quarterback in the second round, even though I just signed the previous quarterback to a very lucrative contract. The next guy seems to be better. The other thing that's really wild about all this, really, really super wild about all this, is how eerily similar it is to the last time the Eagles were flirting with a big contract for a quarterback. Like, eerily similar. And as I got into yesterday when comparing Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts, yes, you can talk about wildly successful years. Yes, you can talk about being you can talk about being MVP caliber players in their full years as starters or whatever, having got a young age, this great run for themselves. That's all great. But with Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz, the real interesting thing here is the change after the Super Bowl. And the fact that this is all leading up to a big contract for Jalen Hurts, just as it was for Carson Wentz. They go to a Super Bowl. Next thing you know, John DeFilippo is no longer the quarterback's coach. He leaves for, Minnesota as the offensive coordinator. Now you have a guy like Shane Steichen, who is now like Frank Reich. Frank Reich left to be the head coach of the Colts. Then you have a guy that is known, that's been like buddies, if you will, with the quarterback. Like, who was it? Now the offensive coordinator down there in Jacksonville, and Press Taylor, now he's offensive coordinator in Jacksonville, was a quality control coach, then a quarterback's coach under Doug Peterson with Carson Wentz, and people thought that was poisoning the well. The fact they had a close relationship, and now it's Brian Johnson with Jalen Hurts. The thing that's, yes, eerily similar, you can make a lot of similarities from last time to this time. The reason we're not scorned in this situation is because Jalen Hurts seems to be a totally, and I will say is a totally different player, mindset between the ears, totally different personality than what Carson Wentz was. And that's what ultimately gives us confidence. There's not going to be any kind of repeat. There's not going to be, we're scorned by what happened with Carson Wentz. Why would we even entertain that idea again? Well, because Jalen Hurts is, what is it? He is the dude. He is that guy. He is the man. That's why we're not scorned. That's why we're not proceeding with caution, even though the situations could be. We're not gun shy here in this situation. So we'll see what happens. But it's all going to be positive. It's all going to be good stuff as far as I'm concerned with Jalen Hurts as your quarterback. Speaking of expectations, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this conversation as Andrew Painter is going to be getting the start today for the Phillies in spring training. Nice little game for the Phils yesterday. They get a 7-2 victory over the Minnesota Twins. Over the Toronto Blue Jays. They'll get the start. Andrew Painter will get the start against the Twins on the road, by the way. Andrew Painter making his Grapefruit League debut for the Phillies. I know I'm excited. I know you're excited. I know we're all excited about this. This is going to be some great stuff, and I can't wait to see it all unfold in front of our very eyes today. Roger Clemens addressed the team. Cody Clemens. Boy, oh boy. So let me bring you guys in to the Farzetta household one more time. Sweetheart, does mommy leave? Yeah. Mommy's got a work trip. Do you want to play on the show a little bit? Do you want to play on the show? Hold on, sweetheart. Here, hold on. Hold on. Take some tissues. Aw. I told you got to stop smoking them cigars. I know you love the cigars. Mommy. I know. Mommy's going to be in New York for a couple days. I know. Oh, thank you. You know what's Emmanuel, you know what's a power move by you kids? Mommy. It's when you guys wipe your noses and you guys wipe your tears and then you just hand them to the parent and you say, to me or mommy, and you go, deal with this. Hey, deal with this. And then you go, and then you'll have trash, and you'll just hand it to us. Oh, sweetheart. Do you want to say hi to everybody? Mommy. I know, sweetie. She'll be back though. She's off with Aunt Kyle. Yeah, they have a little business trip. Maybe mommy will bring you back something from New York. What? I don't know. What do you want from New York? House. Mom, a clean house?
No, a Barbie theme house.
Oh, you want a Barbie dream house?
Yeah.
From New York?
No, a maid house.
Okay, in your house. Okay. Do you want some pizza? How about some pizza from New York?
I don't want pizza.
Okay, what would you like, sweetheart? Here, can you wipe your nose again? Here's a tissue. How's your tummy feeling? Because it wasn't feeling good earlier. No? Oh. Do you want to talk to the people in the chat? Do you want to say hi to them?
Mommy.
Do you want to say hi to them? No? Do you want to watch Sky Happy? Hey, where's Debbie? For the people on the podcast and everyone else, Debbie is her iPad. We've talked about this, and I don't know why it's Debbie. Why is it Debbie? You've always called it Debbie.
Mommy.
Sweetie pie.
Mommy.
Oh, you got your breakfast bar? Did Mommy give that to you?
Yeah.
Is Grammy or Grampy awake yet?
No.
Okay.
Mommy.
I know, sweetheart. I'm going to miss Mommy too.
Leo.
Wait, Leo's still here, right?
Yeah.
He didn't go to New York with Mommy?
No.
Because that'd be a problem.
Mommy.
Did you see Aunt Kyle?
Yeah.
That's good.
Mommy.
I know, sweetheart. You want to hang out down here with me for a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, can I still do the show and you'll hang out? How? Yeah, is that going to work? Okay. Somebody once told me a long time ago that you should break down the wall between you. Oh, you want to come up here?
No.
Oh, you want to open the drawer? Here, watch your foot. I don't want to roll on your foot. There you go. There you go. Have at it. You want my Harlem Globetrotters wristband?
No, I don't want that.
You don't want my Harlem Globetrotter wristband?
Nope.
Here, just try it on.
Die.
Fine.
I have a marker.
Yeah, take the marker. Don't eat the marker. Thank you. There, that's cool.
I don't want to.
All right. Push back. Oh, drop the cereal bar. Thank you. For the people on the podcast, I once played with the Harlem Globetrotters. And I still have the wristband they gave me. I airballed a 3. Not my proudest moment by any means. But, it happens. And what do we do? Like you at gymnastics yesterday. What do? We just keep going, right? That's right. She had gymnastics yesterday. It was her first gymnastics class by herself. Were you eating another what are you just eating? Oh, that's your breakfast bar. All right. Well, this shirt needs to be washed. That's fine. There you go.
I don't want my paper.
You don't want your breakfast bar?
No.
Okay. Here's Howie Roseman on Lil Toots not wanting her breakfast bar. Just kidding. All right. Anyway. All right, sweetheart. Oh, yep. Go ahead. You can play with those.
I don't want.
You don't want these? Those are Tide pens. Why do I have Tide pens? What is happening? Actually, I could use one of those. Thank you. No, let's not use those. I don't want you. Next thing you know, you'll be eating that. Anyway, let me tell you about the great people of Steven Singer. Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row. Get the perfect price each and every day online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Here you go, sweetheart. Take that whole legal pad. Here, wait. I don't need these notes anymore. I already hit those on the show. There we go. Okay. There you go. Steven Singer Jewelers, home with the perfect price each and every day online at IHateStevenSinger.com. Let me tell you about the great people of Manscaped, Manscaped.com, where you can get 20% off and free shipping at Manscaped.com. Use promo code Farzi at Manscaped.com for 20% off. Join the worldwide leader, ladies and gentlemen, in male grooming. Join 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and their skin-safe technology. You can enjoy their Platinum Package 4.0. Their Platinum Package 4.0 ear and nose hair, tree, all this stuff. It's great. Manscaped, buy Manscaped. How about Freestone Farm CBD? Freestone Farm CBD, FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Freestone Farm CBD helps you relax at the end of the day. Oh, it's great after a workout. Not that I would know because I have stopped working out. But all that and more at Freestone Farm CBD. You'll enjoy their tropical tasting Bayox that clocks into their chart topping 24.1% and Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush at 21%. Genetics of these guys are off the charts. So enjoy all the Freestone Farm CBD has to offer at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's jump over to the chat check and see how you beautiful people are doing today. April, good morning. John Cheeseborough, what's going on? John Cheeseborough, what's up? Kevin, what's going on? Jan, how you doing again? April, I am so tired of hearing about the field. Not going to lie, lots of other ways they could have won. April, I agree. However, when Uncle Sodfather speaks, we listen. All right? When the Sodfather speaks,
I'll tell you the problem is the field was overwhelmed.
Anyway, we listen. We listen. John Cheesebro, Super Bowl 57 will just be like 39. I will never watch it again. We'll never watch any highlights or any discussion about it. FedEx Field smells like poop for other reasons. April, well played. Yeah, you know, John, it's interesting you say that about Super Bowl 57 versus 39. The thing that's so crazy about 39 is that when you go back, it's like a case study. For me, Super Bowl 39 is a Super Bowl 39 is like a case. I go back and I do watch it. If it happens to be on like NFL Network and they're doing one of the replays or whatever, I'll sit and I'll watch it because there's always something that I'll miss, something I'll forget, whatever it might be. And the last 5 minutes of that Super Bowl are so mind-boggling to me that I'm curious in a way. It's like why people watch crime dramas. It's like in no way, shape, or form will they ever really understand it, but they're like, how can a person think like this? Like I'll watch that and be like, how could Donovan play like this? How could Danny Reed call plays like this? How could the Eagles fall apart in the second half like that? Well, we saw it again in Super Bowl 59 or Super Bowl 57, excuse me. So I watch it more from a curious standpoint than I do for obvious any type of enjoyment. Like I might watch the first half of this Super Bowl in the near future, this past Super Bowl in the near future, and think, wow, the Eagles were really cooking. But I in the second half, I'll be like, it'll become a case study in 20 years to me. John Cheesebro, I've tried to avoid watching anything on Hulu because of that damn Disneyland commercial. Oh, PJ. From traffic to parking lot concessions, from traffic to parking to concessions to seats to facilities, FedEx Field is truly horrendous. I agree, PJ. I agree. The Mike Penton rumor is interesting, John Cheeseborough. And I'm a guy that, obviously, you guys know I grew up in Doylestown, so I've got a great connection to CB West just in terms of a lot of childhood memories of, like, going to games, walking around the field a million times, going to Nat's Pizza, and getting a couple slices before the game. Yeah. I actually saw Mike Penton in Miami when I was working for Sunday Night Football. And the Jets coaches were getting off the bus and they were going into the stadium. And I just yelled out Nat's Pizza. And his like head snapped around like, who does? And then he walked in. I don't think he saw me. But no, he obviously was with the Ravens for all those years, was with the Jets. Then he was with the Packers. Long career in the NFL. Love to see him in Philadelphia. Would love to see him with the Eagles. It'd be a great story. Coached at North Penn, for those that don't know. Coached under his father, I believe. Yeah, under his father at CB West. Just tremendous respect for that whole family. John Cheeseborough, somehow we get a team to take Michael Clay. More picks there, too. Boy, oh, boy. Come on, if Howie can get anything for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and Jalen Reagor, maybe he can make that happen, too. Maybe. Did you turn off a light?
Yeah.
What light you turn off?
I don't turn it off. I don't want it off.
You don't want it off or on? Lighting director Lil Toots is turning lights off, which is okay. For the people on the podcast, it hasn't affected the show that much. Monolith, you just want to turn that one back on? Take it easy on that very real brick background I have. Anyway. Acho loves to hear himself talk. Damn, he does. Halftime is not like the movies? No. It's not like any given Sunday. Raise your hand if you're I won't say the word. Anyway. Hope the new Eagles defense is great. I agree. John again, it was John Cheeseburger Desai is not much of a blitzer. Oh, really? A Vic Fangio guy? You don't say. I'm sorry, what was that, sweetheart? Where is that? That's storage.
Oh.
When we finish the basement and Daddy builds a studio with a door that has a lock on it.
I don't want a lock.
No, not a lock on your door. A lock on my door.
I don't want a
Oh, you still want the open door policy? Here, I'm let's wipe your face here. Meh. Meh. What? Ow. What hurt? Wow, your nose is really running. Can you hear it? Wipe your own nose. And cough on me.
I don't want that.
You don't want that. Your nose is running crazy.
I don't want to come upstairs.
You want me to come upstairs? I will be upstairs in 1 second. Okay? I'm almost on the show. Oh, sweetie pie. Now you're going to make me look like a bad guy. Yo, is that funny to you? You want a sip of water?
No, I need.
You want one of these 4-year-old cough drops?
Yeah.
These cough drops are older than you. The last time you had one of these cough drops, you put it in your mouth and went, ugh, and spit it back out on my desk. And I think my desk is still sticky from that moment because I have not cleaned.
Mommy?
No, it's probably Grammy or Grampy. Or maybe it's the cats. Maybe it's your mom's cats. Maybe it's Marshall. All right. In a couple seconds, we're going to have a cough drop on the table. Someone knows their defensive schemes. Paid this man his money. Jeff, I agree. Little MacGyver is back, Sean. You're right. John Cheesebro, not the cigars. Love cigars. I try to say, not good for you. It's only for daddy. John Cheesebro, this is great. Better than having any guests, especially Mike Sealski. Come on. April saying hi to Little Touch. You want to say hi to April? You want to say hi to April?
Hi.
There you go. Say hi to everyone. Say hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
There you go. Tyvina! She's sad. April, she's sad because of the Sixers. That's funny. Let's see. PJ learned from the best. She's says Sixers. Unfortunately, she will be crying even more during the playoffs. Sean, well played. Tyvina! Oh, nice to see you in dad mode. Hey, man. This is it. April, look, when you had to realize the look you have when you have to edit the ad copy. Very true. Little MacGyver agrees about Super Bowl 39. She does. Doc Rivers is Andy Reid 2.0. Sean Gillespie loves it. See, I told you were going to like the cough drop. Here, put it in one of these things. Okay. All right. Now, Monolutes, can you just sit on that chair for a second? Because now we got to wash your hands. Please don't wipe that on your shirt. You're a beast. Menthol baby bath in her tub. Menthol. Yeah. Baby bath in her tub. It'll help the sinuses a ton. Are you turning off more lights? Monoluz. No. Please turn that back on. Daddy needs that one. Monoluz. Oh, my goodness gracious. Thank you. That was great. Went through tons of those allergy season. Oh, okay. That's a good idea, April. I like that. Oh, Sean, you like the Al Pacino? God bless you. Did it just for you, pal. Awesome. Everyone in the chat, you guys are great. As per usual, it's Andrew Painter Day. Manuel, it's Andrew Painter Day. Are you excited? And we're back to mommy. All right. Hey, folks. That's the program today. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show. Morning Rush is 105 today. Andrew Painter makes his Grapefruit League debut.
Look.
That's a light. That's Daddy's light.
No, that is the wow.
Yep. That's the show. I'm going to go into full-time dad mode now. Thanks for watching, everybody. You guys are great. As per usual, Jim Hyden produced the program. This is a Buzz Sports Entertainment production. My name is Mark Farzetta. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take it easy.